Hello and welcome to the automation land. This is Hamim Alam. In the last video we have seen nested for loop. So in this video we're gonna talk about some modifier, access modifier and non-access modifier. There's two different kind of modifier in Java, access and non-access modifier. We're gonna be needing the modifier whenever we move to the Selenium part, okay? Because we're gonna have to access methods and variables from different classes, from under different packages, okay? So today we're gonna be talking about those modifier, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly delete all these classes, all right? And then we're gonna start creating the packages from now on, okay? So this is our source, so this is our main package, okay? And then we're gonna be creating a package called com.1, all right? And then we're gonna create another package called com.2, okay? And then we have two packages under here, okay? So 1 and 2. So what are you gonna do? In 1 we're gonna create a class called class 1, okay? So in class 1, what are you gonna do? We're going to have some methods. So in class 1 we're gonna have some methods. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly create some method. So there are like there are like 4 different access modifier, okay? So I'm gonna just write it down. So one is public. So public is access modifier, and then there is private, all right? There is protected, and there is default, all right? So there is default. So default, all right? Default. So public, private, protected, and default, all right? So these are the access modifiers. So these are the access modifier, all right? So these are the access modifier, and there is like non-access modifier. So those are like abstract, and then we have static, and then we have final. So these are the non-access modifiers. So these are non-access modifier, all right? So these are non-access modifier. So we're gonna be making some methods with the access modifier, okay? So for that, what are you going to do? The first one is gonna be public, all right? Public void, let's say I'm gonna give a name so we can have a clear picture how it works. So public method, all right? Public method. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be like, I don't have to write anything in this method, or maybe I can, like, see. So this is public modifier, all right? Public modifier. And then I'm gonna write another method with private, all right? Private void private method, all right? Private method. So this out, this is private method, all right? And then we're gonna have a protected, all right? Protected void protected method, all right? And then this is out, this is protected method, all right? And then we're gonna have, at the end, we're gonna have a default one. The default one is basically void, all right? So void, so default method, all right? So this is basically default method too. So the void is like basically default, all right? And then I'm gonna do, this is default method, okay? And then now we have some method with the access modifiers, all right? So the key point is here, like, we want to access this method from different class, and can we access it or not, okay? So that's the point over here. So what I'm going to do quickly is like I'm going to create another class over here, all right, in the one package, okay? So in one package I'm going to create another class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to class 2, all right? So in class 2, what I'm gonna do is like I'm just gonna create another method, all right, for now. So what I'm going to do, it doesn't matter what method you create, okay? I'm just gonna create public void let's say method 1. All right, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an object of class 1, okay, because I want to get access on all this method. So I have to create an object. So by creating an object, I can access all this method by using the reference. All right, so what I'm going to do is class 1 equal to new class 1. So I have created the object, okay, and then I can use the reference key to access all the properties from this class. Okay, I should be able to access all the properties from that class. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to do 1, so I can access the default method. All right, in same package I can access the different under different class I can access the default method if I create an object. Okay, and I want to access, let's say protected, I can access 1 dot, and public I can access, and then 1 dot, but I cannot access the private. All right, so you cannot access the private over here. So you can, so private variable, a private method that belongs to, like, it cannot be exposed to different class or anything, right? So the private is gonna be private. It only, you can only access that particular variable or maybe a method. Okay, it can be variable, it can be method. Okay, it can only access that on the same class but not in a different class. All right, so what I'm going to do again, I'm going to create another class into different package. So we create a class in the same package, okay, but I'm going to create another class into different package. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another class because I'm class 3. All right, so in class 3 what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, I'm going to create a method. All right, public void, let's say method 1. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly create an object of the class 1 again. So class 1 equal to new class 1. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I want to access those class 1 property in this method, but can I access it? So 1 dot public method, 1 dot only the public method. So if it's a different package, you can only access public variable and public method. That's it. Okay, by creating an object, if it's a different package and you want to access some variable or methods from different class under different package, so that time you have to make that a public. If you don't make it public, you cannot access it. If it's default, you cannot access it. If it's protected, you cannot access it. If it's like a private, you can never access it. Okay, so that's the point over here. So under different package, if you want to access a variable or method, it has to be public. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to create another class over here, and then what I'm going to name it, I'm going to name it like class 4. All right, 4. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to quickly extend class 1. All right, and now let's see, I'm going to create a method over here and then public void method 1. All right, so now let's see like what happens. Like so we have learned inheritance. We basically inherited class 1 into class 4. So what's gonna happen right now, so what is like usually happens like when you inherit one class, okay, so that means like you have all the, like, whatever the properties in the parent class you have in the child class too. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen. But what happens if I try to use one of those methods? Okay, so what happens? All right, so let's do so we can call method inside a method. Okay, so let's say I want to access the public method. All right, I can access public method. What about I want to access the protected method? I can access protected method. Okay, what about I want to access the default method? I can access default method. But what about private method? I cannot access the private method. Okay, even though you inherited the class 1 and the private method is in the class 1, but that is really strict. Private is really strict keyword. Okay, if you have that in a variable or a method, that means you can only access that in the same class, not in different class, not even if you have inherited that class. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to quickly create another class into package number 2. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to do class 5. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to inherit class 1. All right, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a method, public void method 1. All right, and then what I'm going to do, I want to access those methods from class 1. Okay, these methods from class 1. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the class 5, and then what I'm going to do, public method. I can access public, protected, I can access protected, default, I cannot access default. Okay, so here's the thing, private, you cannot access private too. So over here, if it's under different package, you can, and you inherited that class, you can only have public and protected properties from that class. That's all. Okay, so what have we learned so far? So we have some methods in our class 1, and we want to access those, and we want to access those variables, right? So access the variable of the method. So if it's class 1, I mean in the class 1, and then I want to have it that variable or the method in a different class, you can simply create an object and access the variable. Okay, but there are some rules. So that is class 2. Okay, in class 2, if you create an object and in the same package, that way you can access default method, protected and public. All right, so default, protected and public you can access in a same package, under same package. Okay, if you create an object, but if you inherit, you get the same result. Okay, so if I go to class 4, if you inherit, you get the same result. But if it's under different package, you can only have access to public and protected. And if you even inherit that, you can, but if you inherit that, all right, so that way. But if you create an like in class 3, like what it did is, like, we literally just like created an object, and then we wanted to get an like property from there, from the different class under different package, but you can only access the public method, a public variable, I mean public the public variable of the method. Okay, so yeah, that's all about today's access and non-access modifier. So we're gonna be needing it, and if you're like if you have any like questions, please leave a comment in the comment section. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe my channel, and you have a good one.